Father, here's a really good question. This is an email from Adam. Adam, thank you for sending this because I love history. And he says this. Hello. After doing some research and taking history courses, I'm still perplexed by the status of John Wycliffe and his followers. Did the church excommunicate him or was he censored? Thank you so much.
Good question. Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to take a couple of courses that during my time at Seminary Catholic U, that one on the Renaissance papacy and the one on the Counter-Reformation. And of course, you have to know, like the Counter-Reformation, you have to know what happened prior to the Reformation and what led to that. So, Wycliffe, we're talking 14th century. There was quite a bit of latitude in terms of what was allowed, to be said, and one, information didn't travel quite as fast, and so these movements were growing because of their I would say lack of trust, of the church, the things that were going on, and they saw the amount of money, wealth, and so forth. So Wycliffe was definitely on the side of saying, basically, the church should have nothing. And he was tending towards the idea the church should have nothing and the state should almost run everything and own all property. That's where he was tending, in that direction. And of course, the church condemned both sides, of that on Wycliffe's kind of thing and the teaching and other extreme teachings on the other side. But it's more directly to your question, Wycliffe, I do not believe was excommunicated. I know he was censured by the Archbishop of Canterbury, late 14th century. But his immediate kind of followers, Jan Hus was the Bohemian, took up the mantle of his kind of teachings. Now, yeah, he was both for teaching heresies pretty explicitly. I do not believe that Wycliffe was directly condemned in that, but he set the stage for the later reformers and even the Lutheran doctrine of, well, at least we would see it called consubstantiation rather than transubstantiation. Wycliffe was already playing with that kind of idea there. So it would have gotten him condemned, but I don't think it happened in his life.
I know that excommunication could happen by decree, or also their acts in and of themselves that cause excommunication. Would Wycliffe have, by his acts of heresy, therefore been automatically excommunication, even without a decree from the Vatican?
And at least interiorly, if you actually firmly hold to something that is, contrary to the doctrine of the faith, then yeah, you'd be separated from the body of the church. Now, interesting enough, Wycliffe did hold that the church essentially was not visible, but actually an invisible reality. So again, already setting the stage for the Protestant, argument on that. So you wouldn't know exactly who is in communion with the church merely by physical communion, or say governance in that case. And part of the confusion at that time was just the kind of disgust over the two claimants to the papacy, right? This was a huge issue at that time, was say, well, how can we trust this authority at all if you have one in Avignon, one in Rome, and then eventually one in Pisa, as well. And eventually corrected as the Great Western Schism once Martin V was elected. But yeah, so you can understand some of their troubles, but a confusing time.